because I'm hearing phasing issues when I'm using the exact same kick. So sometimes it's better if you just use an entire kick altogether. In the Sounds of Cashmere, he actually has, I believe, drum enhancers. Here we go. Like little tiny little kicks. Might be in here actually. Top kicks. Here we go. There we go. Okay. So these are already kind of done for you, but you can see what I was trying to do. That's how you make them. I think his are a little bit shorter than mine. That's probably why it was sounding better, or his are sounding better. You want to be really subtle with this, so this one will probably work. And they're not really key labeled as well, because you don't really need the key information for these, because there's no, I mean, there's some that are tonal, but these are tonal because the key, the tone of the kick is really all here in the actual bass. The actual transient, this guy right here, isn't really tonal, so there's no real need for to have it as to have a key labeled so you know what key you're in. Okay, so let's try it again. Let's see how these sound with this kick we're working with. So you can hear immediately the difference when I layer this thing in. And we could do a high cut on this just to bring out if it's a little bit too crunchy or a little bit too prominent. Yeah, I think that's sitting pretty nice right there. Again, we don't know how that we have to, you know, when you're just kind of sculpting the kick on its own, I don't really advise it versus do all your sculpting as far as EQing and all that once you have the entire drum section finished, because you have to hear how everything sounds in context with everything else. So, you know, I'm doing all these adjustments here that might not even be necessary because it might be, you know, conflicting with something else when I have this set at, you know, 10K right here. So, you know, this is just, if I was to mold this kick just on its own, this is kind of the method I would start with. But I think for now, this is probably, we're sitting good for where the kick should be. And I think we can move on to the next element in our drum. All right, let's move on to the next element. Let's throw a snare into here. Now, snares in house music are tricky sometimes because you don't want to conflict with the rhythm of the 4 on the floor kick drum. That's like the fundamental, the basis for the danceable element of the track. That constant low end thump is what is gonna make people move to it, you know, in my opinion. So what's cool with snares is I like to just have like a shuffled rhythm to have it in the background. Snares in house music is not like with dubstep and trap music and drum and bass and overall bass music in mid-tempo. The snare is very prominent. You want to make sure that snare is cutting through the mix hard. It smacks you in the face. And because when you dance to bass music or break beats, you're bobbing your head on the 3 count versus with snares in house, it's not really necessary. Just put them in the background to give a little groove and shuffle to the rhythm. Your main element is this solid, you know, 4 on the floor kick drum that should be the element in the track. So with that being said, let's go back to that sample folder that we were working with. And let's just grab a snare here. Now, we're looking for, again, a short tail on this snare. We don't want a big old long drawn out reverb snare like you would use in dubstep. You want a short or a quick attack no release. I mean, sorry, like a short tail, if anything. Let's go to the kit. There you go. I think this folder in general, I think was probably this. It contains most of the sounds that they're in my head. So, but I mean, if this is any other sample pack, you know, this is just a matter of scrolling through samples until you find one that suits the genre you're working in. The reason why I'm choosing this one is basically what I just explained. You want a short attack and no tail, like no big tail. Let's try this one. So let's throw you in snare. Actually, let's do this. We're gonna throw on a MIDI track for this. We're gonna do MIDI drums. So let's add a new MIDI track, assign the color. Let's rename it to snare. And we don't need you anymore. Okay, let's throw on a instance of simpler. And then we're gonna go to snare here. Okay. Okay, so when I'm playing middle C on my keyboard, that's the original sound, like, of when the snare is recorded. Or it's the original pitch of the snare, sorry. So keep that in mind when you're using simpler. C3 is always going to be the middle. Your middle C is just always going to be where the original sample is. If you're new to Ableton and you don't know that, that's something you should probably know. So we can try to see if the spectrum will pick it up, and we can see if we are tuned or not. Okay, so it's a little bit off. Let's go ahead and pitch it up one semitone because the peak was hitting F instead of F sharp. And so it's almost tuned already, but basically that's what you would do. You just find out how many semitones you're off and then adjust accordingly. Okay, so let's find out where. Let's see, one shot. Let's see where it is. I forgot where the. There we go. Okay, it's in the control section. Sometimes I forget. I don't use MIDI drums as much as I should. I usually just lay them out in the sample. Okay, so we want to push it up one semitone. Oh, we don't want that. Okay, now you can see that we are now tuned to F sharp.